Alright, so it's been a little bit since she released, so it's time to shill Silverwolf again. And no, I'm not being held hostage in a dark room. Why would you even ask that? I'm not sure why all of the contrarians came out for Silverwolf. Maybe it's just history with other characters in Hoyo games. I'm not really sure. People's reactions to Silverwolf in CBT2 were actually pretty positive. But then, as a response to that, some folks searched far and wide, from sea to shining sea, all across the globe to try and find reasons that Silverwolf is actually not worth pulling for. And now that this character is finally out, people switch teams faster than I did when I saw Jingyuan. Granted, there's still plenty of reasons not to pull for her if you find that you just like Lolcha because he's hot, or if you find Kafka hot, or if you find Blade hot. I wanted to make this video because my guide was 30 minutes long, full of information on how to play the character, but I didn't really go into why I personally feel that she's super strong, because the video was already just way too long. And also, when you put your opinion on the internet, you're gonna have a bad time. That said, I'm shilling this character because even people who know that she's good don't know how good she is. Of all of the tiers she could have been in, she is the newest addition to Bronya tier, which I guess is fitting because, you know, she's... My name is Braxophone, and why is every Bronya in this game so freaking strong? There was a myth around the release of Silverwolf that you had to run her with very specific characters for her to be good, which would be right if it wasn't wrong. Yes, Silverwolf enables quantum teams and mono-element teams with their weakness adds skill, but due to how it actually works, you have a ton more team flexibility than folks initially thought. Silverwolf allows you to play any character into any content as long as you have the game knowledge to do it, and that in itself makes her one of the most flexible characters in the entire game. Being able to add weaknesses is a completely unique gimmick at the moment, and it's doubtful that any other character has an ability that does this, at least not to the same exact degree that Silverwolf does. Something that a lot of people take for granted though is how that affects your break frequency. When you play Silverwolf, you basically go from breaking enemy toughness to breaking their kneecaps. If you play Seela, Silverwolf, Asta, and Hook into this Arceus looking dude, you'll break him so much that you'll basically remove turns and time from the equation. Breaking enemies isn't just a damage gain from the break effect itself, but it's also a damage gain because it makes enemies have slightly lower resistance to your damage. On top of that, it acts as a form of damage mitigation in a way, since it reduces the amount of turns an enemy will actually have before you beat it. Break is something that you can abuse to make your fights easier, and Silverwolf is a character that allows you to play any character in your roster to break enemies. Now you might be thinking, well Brax, why not just build teams around the enemy's weakness instead of wasting a 5-star character? Well, person who I argued with on Twitch who has every character on the roster while most players do not, that sure is an option. The point of Silverwolf though is that you can play who you want to, as opposed to playing what the game makes you. But you also may be surprised to learn that Silverwolf actually is a better option than that, and even better than top supports in the strongest teams. Now I get it, this is a huge, bold claim to make, but just put down your pitchforks and stop riding that twit longer for just 1 second. We actually mapped out the team damage differences after simulating turns in-game, so it's completely legit. We recorded them and mapped out character damage based on some best-in-slot options, but all free-to-play light cones. This isn't a I feel like X, Y, and Z, this is just how it works out in single-target boss scenarios at high investment. The baseline we used was a Seela team with Bronya, Tingyun, and Bailu. Over 3 cycles with 0 extra resurgence attacks due to the enemy being a single target boss, this is a pretty solid benchmark for high damage Seela teams. Now here's how it stacks up to other teams, one with Pela instead of Bronya just to show that option, and 2 Silverwolf team variants. As you can see, both Silverwolf team variants come out ahead, making one of the strongest teams in the game even stronger thanks to the power of one gamer with 76 accounts. Now keep in mind that this was done over 3 cycles, so you'd actually have 1 more Seela ult in the Silverwolf Pela team if you went another cycle longer, which would make the damage difference between the 2 Silverwolf teams a little bit smaller. But anyways, as you can see, putting 1 single gamer on your team can improve its damage by a lot. And on top of all of this, these situations aren't accounting for break damage, which can make the Silverwolf teams go even further ahead of the other Seela team options. So what's the conclusion? Bronya's actually Hoyo's favorite child. If you put Silverwolf in a supporting slot, her defense shred and resistance shred are going to improve your team's damage by a pretty dang large margin, but it's not actually only her debuffs that do that. It's also largely in part due to her own personal damage contribution, which thanks to the new free-to-play Nihility Light Cone is a lot higher. 40% effect hit rate and free energy generation is huge and lets you build cooler Bronya for some damage, and at high investment you can get a ton of damage out of her even while she's got high effect hit rate. While she isn't exactly Kazuha in terms of strength, she definitely finds herself in a bit of a Kazuha scenario, where plenty of people are going to skip her because there are good 4-star alternatives like Pela and that's basically it. Yeah, that's it. Now, back in Genshin, of course, the primordial waifu was also on the way, and in Honkai Star Rail, Mommy came back from the cigarette store. And right before her is Callan's Delivery Man. Sidetracked. Sorry. Pela has AoE Defense Shred, and she's an amazing 4-star. But the complaints about Silverwolf being single target aren't really that big of a deal. The challenge of this game is mostly boss fights. Until we fight 3 bosses at the same time, she's gonna be great. Not only is her Defense Shred better, but she also is shredding resistance and letting you break more. All of this is without even accounting for the fact that she has her bugs that reduce defense and other enemy stats. While speed debuffs technically don't increase your damage per hit, they do increase how long your debuffs last, since debuffs count enemy turns instead of your own. By slowing enemies down, they attack less, meaning their turns move slower. Combined with the cooler Bronya's weakness implant, enemies will just do less damage overall. Oh, and she also lowers their attack. You know what else lowers enemy attack? Subscribe to Braxophone on YouTube. If you're not already subbed, I can almost maybe kind of not really guarantee that your enemies will have their attack lowered. The debuff is invisible. You know how it goes. You just have to try it. So hit that button. Yep, the red one right there. I've been shilling Silverwolf kind of hard. I've said shilling like 3 times. I've been selling Silverwolf kind of hard, and so I do want to make it clear that I don't care who you actually pull for. Sometimes people see these types of videos and assume that I'm some sort of angry loser who didn't get enough love from his parents and has no friends. Honestly, guys, that's really messed up though, because while I'm a great many things, I'm definitely not angry. Silverwolf is a character that is actually amazing right now, but she'll also continue to get much better over time. And as we see more quantum supports, specifically a preservation or abundance character would be nice, the ability to focus on specific gimmicks will get easier, and her value as a weakness adding defense and resistance shredding character will basically only go up from here. If you need another healer on your account, or if you're just prone to women who will f you up in a good way, then yeah, you can skip Silverwolf. This video was mostly a response to a lot of people who initially thought that her changes would make her terrible and that her RNG made her not usable, when in reality her RNG factor is fixed by proper build and team, and frankly, if they wanted this character to be balanced, they should have nerfed her more before releasing a broken free-to-play light cone. Oh, and did I mention that having her at E6 makes her the best DPS in the game? Because yeah, she's the best DPS in the game if you pull out your credit card. Look, having a gimmick doesn't automatically make a character good, but Silverwolf's gimmick is good, and even in the extremely unlikely event we get another character who does the same thing, it would have to be straight up aggressive power creep to make this character irrelevant, and I doubt Hoyoverse would do that. $50 has been sent to your PayPal. After posting this video, please follow up with a message, and make sure not to read this part.